everybody. Welcome to It Was Tuesday with your host, James Chen, aka Jay Chenzor. And today, I have gotten myself into some hot mess on Twitter over here with a lot of people coming after me. And it is all about this thing over here, which is Numpad notation, which is an amazingly, apparently very, very hot topic out there and gets people all up in their feels. So let's talk about this, okay? Let's talk about Numpad notation. This all came up because somebody tweeted out that they were like, I'm never learning Numpad notation. It's really bleh. And it sounds like it's really like they were like, it's so stupid and I hate it and everything. And someone responded with, this is the standard. It's easy. It's easy to learn. If you don't want to learn it, you'll just stay weak and you'll never be good at fighting games. To which I responded, can we stop this, please? Can we stop this? If you don't learn Numpad notation, you're weak kind of conversation over here. Can we move past that? Because that is part of the problem of that whole, I asked I was in a thread one time talking about, is the FGC welcoming? And people talked about the FGC feels elitist and it feels exclusive. And I mean, telling people if you don't learn this one thing, you'll stay weak like everybody else who doesn't learn it, is not the right way to do this. So I then got into some embroiled, heated conversations with a lot of people arguing about Numpad notation, etc., etc. And I am finally going to put this whole entire conversation to rest here because a lot of people make these assumptions about where I stand on Numpad notation, etc., etc. But let us establish this first and foremost, but let me also, just because my OCD is bothering me, fix that. All right, Numpad notation. So let's get this out of the way straight off, okay? Let's get this out of the way right away. Should Numpad notation be the de facto standard for for typing out inputs in the fighting game community? The answer is yes. Yes, it should be. Yes, it should be because it has far, far too many advantages. There's too many advantages to it. One, it is completely universal. It is very, very quick to type. And it is something that you can translate very, very easily. Now, there are some games like NRS and Tekken where they use numbers for the buttons that does muddy up the water, but even countries like Japan have already moved away from using numbers for the buttons for Tekken. They actually use LP, RP, LK, RK for the buttons and such. Now, does that mean you have to learn Numpad notation? Yeah, you will have to learn Numpad notation in order to properly process information here in the fighting game community. This is the Street Fighter 6 t-shirt over here. And so this is something that should be standardized. It is easy to learn, it is convenient, and it is language free, quick to type, and allows you to express funky motions like pretzels, blah, 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 blah. If you don't want to compete, you don't necessarily have to learn it. I'm just saying it's easier to learn for your convenience so that you can understand a lot of tips and things that other people talk about. Without learning it, it's gonna hold you back a little bit here. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people watching this and seeing my Twitter thread might actually be surprised, or seeing anything that I do on Twitter, because I shit on Numpad notation constantly. I'm always making fun of Numpad notation. And there's a reason for that, because I hate Numpad notation. All right? And this is the part that we have to address, okay? I hate numpad notation. Why do I hate numpad notation? Because, and this is where I get really, really frustrated. One, okay, Death by Poke mentions that, it doesn't work on commentary. True. I hate using it on commentary. I say 6P or 2K2D because I can't help it, because everybody talks about it and stuff like that. And it's just the lexicon now for a lot of it. But here's the thing here. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the point that I have been trying to make on Twitter for so long here. The reason why I get mad when people talk about numpad notation are like, oh, it's so easy to learn. If you don't want to learn it, you're just lazy, or you don't belong in the FGC in the first place. You can't make the effort. You're stupid, blah, blah, blah. The reason why I really, really hate that is because numpad notation is not universally simple for everybody. Okay? And when I say this as a person who has this problem. I still, to this day, have to stop and think about numpad notation, even though I've been using it for over a decade now. I still have to stop and think about it. I still type it wrong every single time. I still get everything mixed up all the time. For example, when I talk about Soul Calibur, there is no point in time where 1A or 1B does not mean down forward. 1 is down back. So for those of you unfamiliar with numpad notation, look at the number pad on your keyboard. All of the numbers represent a direction on the joystick. It's really convenient that there's the 9 directions there perfectly, right? So, or you can open up your calculator, which is a terrible solution because I'm not going to open up my calculator every time I need to think about numpad notation. Like, the thing is, it's not intuitive. 3 is down forward. And for my whole entire life, and for the rest of my life, I will be saying 1 as down forward. And the reason why is because numpad notation is not intuitive for everybody. Now, I will say I'm the minority. However, when I talk about this, I get a lot of people that are like, oh my God, James, same. Oh my God, James, same. So I don't know if I am the minority. The problem is every time you talk about the fact that you hate numpad notation, here comes the numpad guys, and it's like a fucking cult, okay? I'm just gonna say, I'm not even mincing words right now. The numpad faction, the numpad notation faction out there, they're a fucking cult, man, because they come down at you, and they will yell at you, and they will call you names, and they will just be like, it's so easy. Like, seriously, seriously, calm down. The truth of the matter is, why is 1 down forward for you? I don't know, PC Genjin, and this is the point. This is what I'm talking about, is that numbers for me do not translate the way letters do. And people are like, they're just symbols. It's not. It's not. Because for me, when I see letters, when I see words, when I make puns, when I play with letters in my head, letters are red, they're orange, they're warm. I feel warmth in the letters, and when I see them, I want to translate them because that is what we do with the English language. You've seen those tests before where they jumble all the letters in the middle of a word except for the end letters, and you can still read the whole entire thing, no problem. When I see numbers, numbers are gray, numbers are cold. Okay, let me pull up the, let me just add the picture over here so that you guys can actually see the numpad notation. Let's see, numpad. Let's browse to the background. Let's browse to my backgrounds. And I'll grab this photo over here. This is the numpad right here. So, if you guys are doing numpad notation, 2 corresponds to down, 6 corresponds to forward, 5 corresponds to neutral, etc., etc. So if I actually wanted to do mention quarter circle forward, I would type it out as 236. 2, 3. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is up with that 000 button, but I would type out 236. That's quarter circle forward. If I want to type out half circle forward, it would be 4, 1, 2, 3, 6, which I will forever type as 4, 3, 2, 1, 6, because my brain does not process numpad stuff. The reason why 1 will be down forward to me for my entire life is because numbers are meant to be data. They are meant to be informational. And when I think about things, I do everything by heart. You guys know this already. I do everything by feel. When I sit here and I think of moves, when I think of Soul Calibur and I think of move lists in Soul Calibur, and I want to categorize them, and if you look on your Soul Calibur apps on your phone all the time, you will always see that all the down forward moves are listed before the down back moves. Always. And in my brain, that is how it's always going to be. If I'm going to talk about the down moves, down forward, down back, and straight down forward comes before down back. I cannot shake the need for ordering these things, and I cannot shake the ability to interpret numbers as ordinal or as calculations or as data. And because I categorize down forward moves to be earlier than down back moves, it's always going to be 1 for me, because 1 comes before 3. And I can't shake that. I actually cannot shake that. It might be OCD, it might be ADHD. There's something weird about it. But like I said, I can't also type 6. See, I have to think about it. Like every time I do it, I have been using this notation for like 10 years. And every time I want to say half circle back, I have to go 6 and then I have to stop. 3, 2, 1, 4. And I have to think about it every single time. I can't do it. It will never be natural to me. It will never, ever be natural to me. And so, when we talk about numpad notation, when people say that they hate numpad notation or that it's confusing, it is because your brain works very differently. I've had mic popping issues before, and I haven't been able to figure out what's causing that, Goose Comics. So, it's weird. I cannot process numpad notation quickly. It is literally impossible for me to do so. And it will be impossible almost for the rest of my life because of the way my brain works. Okay? Yeah, and so Behemoth Typhoon, by skipping the diagonals, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for me. Like if I see 862 or 842, I'm going to have to think about it. Like I have to think about it. I don't know why. I wish I could explain it. But there is just something about the way that my brain refuses to process numbers as some sort of interpretation. Numbers in my brain will always be data. And trust me, I'm a math guy. Maybe that's what makes it worse. I majored in math in college. I'm a programmer. I actually like using numbers. But numbers will always be informational data as opposed to something that you read and your brain translates into something else. So, as a result, the reason why I get so frustrated with the numpad notation cult out there is because it's not that easy. I've had people on my Twitter being like, it's just repetition. Just look at 214 and just remember it and use it a bunch and it'll stick eventually. Or, hey, look at your numpad or pull out the calculator. Like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, you don't think I've tried? You don't think I've tried? And see, Gundam Jehudi Kai types out 632146, and I'm just like, what the hell is that? Right, and when I say 2 and 4, you have to think about it, says Forrest in the chat. The truth, and like I said, when I picture a numpad, let me tell you how often 1 is in down forward. Let me tell you how often I picture 1 in the down forward position, even when I picture a numpad in my brain. Now, this might have to do with my left-right dyslexia, but the thing about it is there are a lot of people out there who are agreeing with me on this. The reason why I bring this up is not to say that we should abolish numpad notation. I've already said 100% numpad notation should be the de facto input, how we type it out and way we share information. It's just the best way to do it. It's the most convenient. It's the most universal. It's the most efficient. It's the quickest way to type it. There's a lot of things you're going to have to learn, like what the square brackets mean and stuff like that, or what the backwards square brackets mean. You're going to have to learn that kind of stuff. But it's all part of the... It's going to be the same as anything, right? And even if the square brackets means charge, like for Sonic Boom and stuff, typing out charge back, blah, 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 is inconvenient, takes a long time, and not everybody knows what the word charge is because we're a universal genre. People from all over the world read this notation, and charge is obviously an English word and nothing else. So here's the problem. The thing that I get mad about, and this is what I'm trying to tell the cult of the numpad notation, the proprietors, the people going out there and knocking on your door and saying, have you heard about our Lord and Savior numpad notation? Because every time I talk about numpad notation and I tell them it's not that easy, I get everybody telling me it is, just do this, just do that, just do this. It's not that straightforward. Everybody's brain is different. And a lot of people have the same problem that I do when it comes to processing numbers. When you see the numpad notation, I cannot explain to you, and I cannot give you the reason why. But as soon as I see numpad notation listed anywhere, I feel very uncomfortable. As soon as I see the numbers, there's a jolt in my head going, oh God, that's right. How do I process this? Every time I see numbers, and I've been doing this for a decade now. I've been reading numpad notation for a decade, for over a decade now. Forever I've been reading it. I look at it and I just go, oh God, and I don't know why. I can't tell you. It is uncomfortable. Like I said to somebody, there is a reason why the cult of the anti-numpad notation reacts so violently and almost like unreasonably, like it's almost psychotic how much the people who dislike numpad notation will go out of their way to be like, this is absolute shit. How do I interpret 7, 8, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 7, 8? Like, you know what? Like, there is a reason why they are so violently opposed to it. It has nothing to do with laziness. It has nothing to do with stupidity. There is just a visceral and completely involuntary reaction when you see the numbers. There's just this very uncomfortable feeling that comes over you. And that's what happens for me. As soon as I see numpad notation, as soon as I see one of those 63214s, I'm just like, and did I get it right? I said it. 63214, I got it right. I got it right. Yay. I know 2 languages. I know 2 languages total, maybe 1.75, I speak English, I've learned Spanish, and I know Chinese. It doesn't feel like learning another language at all. At all. There is no correlation to learning Numpad notation as there is learning another language. Because words are words. Like I said, words are words. I feel words differently. I treat words differently. I see words differently than I do numbers. That's just it. Like literally, if we just decided to come up with 9 random letters to, like, let's just say instead of using Numpad, we decided to use QWEASDZXC as the notation for Numpad. So Fireball would be XCD and DP would be DXC. I probably would have no problems. I would absolutely have no problems. Because letters to me are meant to be interpreted. They're meant to be translated. They are meant to represent and symbolize other things. Numbers are numbers. And it's like I said, I wish I could explain this to you, because for those people who don't have this problem, this sounds absolutely silly. This sounds just like the dumbest thing ever. Like, just because it's letters and numbers, it would make a difference. Yes, that is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Numpad is a notation that absolutely should be used. But if people balk at it, if people are resistant, or if people hate it or do not like it, stop talking down to them. Stop talking down to them. When I talk about Numpad notation in my chat, and I have people in my chat go, oh my God, I can't process Numpad notation either. It seems like such a relief for them every time to be able to talk about it somewhere where the immediate response isn't, well, learn it. You're lazy. You're stupid. Like, it actually seems like a relief for a lot of these people that there's somebody out there with an audience that completely understands where they're coming from. Yeah, then Gibby has the other problem that he's stuck on the phone problem, right? So like, if I sit here and go like, oh, we'll bust out the Numpad on your phone. All right, there we go. So what's 236? What is 236? Right? That's a different problem. Dude, rotary would be amazing. Let's do rotary. Or do the clock method, right? Like someone actually tried to do the clock method. Does the Chinese words provoke the same number responses to you as Arabic numbers? No. Because I can't do math with Chinese numbers. I don't. Because the Chinese letters, the Chinese characters for numbers, to me is the same as writing out 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, you know what? I bet you if somebody actually typed this out, I would be able to use Numpad notation much faster. If you actually typed out 236 like that in English, like as you can see here in the chat right here, literally typing it out, TWO space, THREE space, SIX, I would be able to process Numpad notation faster than I would processing it as numbers. So again, my whole, see, that's the thing. Mike Lee says in the chat, when people type Numpad notation, he doesn't see numbers. He pictures how his fingers would actually move to hit the keys. Exactly. So Mike has a different brain about this than a lot of us do. And this is the problem, is that the people who understand it refuse to acknowledge this. I have been debating with a couple of people on Twitter, and I just said to them, look, a lot of people are like, look, this is a lot more simpler. Like if you say down forward, that's ambiguous as well. That's confusing as well. And my response to them is, this is not a competition. I have already said that numpad notation is the correct way to go. I keep telling these people over and over again, all I want to hear from them is, yeah, okay, I get it that some people will find numpad notation difficult. That is all I'm trying to get these people to say. And they won't do it. They won't do it. All they will be, but it's so, no, just try this. Just try this. I spend like 90,000 tweets in a row explaining to them how it's not an issue of memorization, how it's not an issue of, doing all, it's just my brain doesn't work that way. And for some reason, this cult of numpad notation will not accept that. Again, I've already bought into your cult. I already use numpad notation. I teach with numpad notation, okay? I only use numpad notation in official things. I've already bought into it. It's just not intuitive. It's just, and you see, and like, it's just like everybody just wants to tell you how easy it is. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. And yeah, so a lot of people, so T-Max says how you use that in Tekken because buttons are 1, 2, 3, 4. It just depends. Like Japan is already using LP, RP, LK, and RK for the buttons, right? Just like Street Fighter, you would use LP, MP, HP, right? So it's 236 HP, 623 HP. So Tekken, a lot of people would be like 6523 RP? I think it's RP. Yes, it's RP. 6523 RP. And so a lot of people already do that for Tekken, for example. So a lot of people are using numpad notation for those things as well. Why am I wasting my time with dudes if they acknowledge the difficulty or not? Because it's just, it's mind-boggling. I just want to see if they can get to the point where they actually understand. I just want to know. I just want to see if they can get to the point where they're like, okay, I get it. I get it. It's difficult. I don't know. But there's a lot of interpretation and a lot of translation that is required for a lot of people for numpad notation. And that's all I'm asking for at this point. Is this something that you as a fighting game player will have to learn in order to be involved and be on Discords and learn and listen to and watch YouTube videos, etc., etc.? Most likely, yes. Yes, you will probably be able to get away with it without trying to do it, or just spend a lot of time just swallowing it and just being like, all right, fine, every time I see it, I got to think about it or whatever. But you should absolutely learn numpad notation. But I sympathize and empathize with you if it is very difficult to understand, because I am there with you. And all I'm asking is that we stop trying to shame and talk down to people who really, really, really dislike numpad notation. Because it's not a matter of laziness. It's not a matter of intelligence. It's the way that our brains are wired. It's the way our brains are wired. And see, even a bunch of people here in the chat are just like, well, I just look at the numpad and I just treat it like this. I just do it like this. And I'm happy for you. I wish I could. I wish I could. Honestly. But see, that's the problem, Necromancy Black. You have to let them off. You have to. There's nothing to shame them on. This is just an inherent problem that you just have no ability to correct. Like I said, I've been looking at numpad notation for 10 years, and I cannot make this correction. I still cannot do this correctly. Okay, Necromancy Black is just kidding. All right, he's just teasing. But the whole point is that stop shaming people for this. Honestly, honestly, because it is not straightforward to a lot of people. I've often said numbers are scary, and people like to attack me for that. I've mentioned how putting frame data in game directly as numbers is the wrong idea. And people came after me for that. I said, because numbers are scary. If someone opens up a menu item and just sees all these numbers, they're going to just look at it and be like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. Numbers make people react differently. Like I said, as much as I sit here and call the Numpad notation people a cult and everything like that, I 100% admit that the anti-Numpad notation crew is, like I said, the way that they respond to Numpad notation is absolutely psychotic. Like, it just sounds like we are being difficult on purpose to those who understand it, because it just makes no goddamn sense that we can't process it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting a calculator tattooed on your arm. Okay, right. But again, this is just something that some people are not going to be able to understand. And there's a reason why we react so violently towards it. Because as soon as it sees us, it gives us a great feeling of discomfort. It really, really, really does. And Psychodamo, you won't have to analyze frame data in Street Fighter 6. I think that is not going to be a problem in Street Fighter 6. There's going to be a few cases where you're going to have to memorize like 3 moves per character of what's plus. But for the most part, the frame data thing isn't going to be as much of an issue. So that's about all I want to say. Numpad notation is absolutely what we should be doing. Actually, you think, let's see, the reason why frame data is not going to be as problem, Mahomie, in Street Fighter 6 is because pushback is a lot farther and just about everything is negative, and very few things leave you point blank as much as they did in Street Fighter 5. So this game is going to be played a lot less, and almost everything is minus on block unless they glow green. If you see the opponent glow green, then you know it's their turn. And that's it. So frame data has always been about that. Learning what's your turn, what's their turn. If they're not glowing green, most likely it's your turn. If they're glowing green, most likely it's their turn. So it makes it a little bit easier to understand. Because most of the normals are minus? Yeah, despite 14. Why doesn't it make sense? I got family just said directly, and it's a very inability to spell random words. People having trouble interpreting things is just normal to me. Exactly, Tuhalu. Again, brains are just... Yeah, it's exactly like Soul Calibur. Lightning usually means plus. Like, for the most part, lightning means that they're plus on block. Yeah, absolutely. Very similar Death by Poke. But yeah, again, some people just won't understand Numpad. And so, like I said, both sides are kind of crazy about it, right? Like, the cult of Numpad notation is ridiculous. But again, I get it, because it just doesn't make sense to them how anybody can find Numpad notation difficult to process. It just doesn't make any sense, because there's those of you who will see Numpad notation and go, oh, and that's it. Like, that association alone will make you a Numpad reader for the rest of your life. You didn't even have to make any effort whatsoever. As soon as you found out what Numpad notation was, like, that makes sense, and that's the end of the story. That is the end of you learning Numpad notation. Then there's the rest of us that every time we see Numpad notation, there's that jolt in our brain where we're like, what the? Oh God, I have to do this again. I have to do this again. Because literally, when I look at the thing and it says 63214, when it says 63214, like, I don't just see it and go, half circle back. Like, I just don't. I have to look at it and I'll be like, oh, 6, okay. And then the 4, that is back. Pretty sure the 3 letters in between are 3. So, you know, and that's just how it is. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. I wish I could explain it. The brain is a weird organ and we all think differently. And honestly, that's the number one key to teaching, right? Understanding that everybody learns differently. Approaching teaching is understanding that everybody learns differently and everybody comes from different kinds of brains, right? And so if somebody says to you, I hate numpad notation, don't go, well, if you don't understand it, you'll stay weak and never be good. Instead, you go, dude, I totally get it. I totally get it. It's necessary and it'll be hard for you. I get it. But I'll try to have some ways to help you. It might never become super clear to you, but it is the language that we use in the fighting game community. Here's the advantages why we use it. And I get that it's hard for you. Like, it's so much easier to do, man. It's that much easier to do. It's just, why are everybody so violently attacking everybody? You know, I don't get it. I don't get it. In any case, I'm talking in circles now. I don't think I'm saying anything that I haven't said already before. So that's enough here for me with numpad notation. And right, yeah, exactly. It's probably their logic, but that's why I'm trying to explain to these people that they have to see it this way. They have to understand that not everybody is going to be able to process it the way they can. And while that seems absolutely bonkers to them, think about everything that you do in the world and how some people are just able to process things much quicker than others. That's the way the world works, man. Brains work in mysterious ways. We definitely don't understand it at all. So, any case, use numpad notation. This is the universal language. If you hate it, learn it. You're gonna have to. That's just the way it works. I get it. I have trouble with it, but I've spent all my time trying to learn it. So it's the best thing that we can do. As a person who's come up with my entire own notation back in my FAQ days, which I still think is a wonderful notation, by the way, but people don't want to see it. So not that. I mean, the numpad notation is better. It's just better. It's more universal. People who do not speak English will not be able to understand my notation. So I totally get it. Also, my notation takes way too long to type. Way too long to type. So I get it. So there you go. Use numpad notation because that's the way it works. If you understand it and find someone who can't grasp it, do not talk down to them. Help them through it. So, in combos though, numpad notation uses caret, sideways, angled bracket for both links and chains, right? Yeah, I don't like that. And again, like if you look at the notation that I use, for some reason, everything that I do has always been about feel, right? So whenever you cancel a move, I always used XX. I use two symbols for move transitions. For links, I use a comma because commas automatically induce a feeling of pause. And that's what links are. Links feel like a pause. Like when you cancel low forward into fireball, it's When I do strong into forward as a link, I go There's a pause. So I feel like comma worked better for links, XX, because X means like canceling things. So I use that as the cancel symbol. And that's just how I've always done it. I did it by feel. But you see how it's different? Numpad notation is not about feel. It's about practicality. It is science. Numpad notation is science in its truest form. And for people like me who do things by feel, that doesn't work. The opposite of a field player is a mind player. It's the science brain. It's the science brain. So, okay. Anyways, let's go ahead and call this one night. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I know chat's probably gonna. I mean, the YouTube comments are probably gonna get pretty crazy if this video actually gets a ton of views out there. But please do leave some thoughts down there, and let me know if you actually do have the same problems that I do when it comes to numpad notation, because the more people out there that are like, yes, 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 that's how I feel about it, the more we can actually show others that this is a real issue and that we should not be so quick to dismiss people who hate numpad notation. But follow me on youtube.com/UltraChenTV, as well as twitch.tv/UltraChenTV and twitch.tv/JChenzor. And like and subscribe. And if you want to help support me, subscribe to the Twitch channels as well. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. Stick around for those of you here on Twitch. We will be going to the Street Fighter 6 music coming after this. You guys can check YouTube tomorrow. It should be up at this point. And actually, let me know in the chat if you've made it this far, if you would be okay with me splitting the music into multiple videos so it's not as long as one. But I don't know. People in the chat can let me know how they feel about that as well. But in any case, thank you guys for watching and listening, and hopefully, understanding what I'm talking about here. And you should, because the day that this podcast graced your ears was the most important day of your life. But for me,
it was Tuesday.